Welcome to Kids Town. Hey, this month, we're in training. I hope you're ready because we are going to be preparing for not a 5K, but a race extravaganza. Are you guys pumped up for this? Are you? Let me hear ya. No, I mean really pumped up. You gotta be really pumped up for this. Let me hear you. Give me your best roar. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And you know what? In order to run a 5K or any race, it takes something called commitment. And so this whole month, we're talking about commitment. And commitment, this month, we're talking about it's making a plan and putting it into practice. That's what we're calling commitment. Now, it takes commitment to do all sorts of things, like homework, playing sports, being on a sports team, or even drawing a masterpiece with chalk on your driveway. You gotta be committed. Or running a race like a 5K. We need commitment in our relationship with God, too. See, we need to make a plan and put it into practice so we can grow more and more like Him. It's not always easy. Now, to be honest with you, I'm not really much of a runner, but I have trained for running. One time, my sister talked me into signing up for a 5K. To me, that seemed like a marathon, but it's not. It's not anywhere near as far as a marathon, but for me, it might as well have been. But I had to make a plan. I had to get that little app that's called Couch to 5K. That's me. And I had to commit to going out a little bit each day and walking some, running some, and then running more, walking less. And eventually, I could do the whole thing. But you know a funny truth about it? The day of the race, someone joined us who wanted to be part of it, but they weren't ready to run a 5K. So I walked it with them. Even though I was trained and ready. That's a whole other topic. But in order to be ready to run that race, I had to invest. And it's the same way in our relationship with God. We have to invest in training and practicing, and we have to be committed. So to learn more about this topic and kind of open it up for us, let's watch this video right now called Live Loud.
Have you ever decided to do something really big? Like learn how to play guitar? Or, make friends with the new kid down the street? Maybe you even want to bake a master chef-worthy cake for your mom's birthday. You're super excited to get started, but then you sit down with the guitar and... oh, no. Or you spend all morning working up the nerve to go knock on the new kid's door, and it turns out he's gone for a week of summer camp. Then you find the recipe for that amazing cake, and it's crazy. Doing big things takes work. It takes making a plan and then sticking with it. There are calluses along the way, patience and courage in building a friendship, and definitely some mess. But when you follow through, you find the music, you grow a friendship, you create amazing edible art. And through it all, others can see how God has given you the strength to stick with it. That's why commitment is an amazing way to worship God with your life, because worship is about more than just singing loud. It's all about living loud.
Cool, let's do some worship together. This month, we have a new song to learn together. Listen to these words that David prayed to God in Psalm 86:15. He says, Lord, you're a God who is tender and kind. You are gracious. You're slow to anger. You're faithful and full of love. Our God is always faithful. You might say He's totally committed to us. And because of that, we can trust him through anything we face in life. And that's what this new song is all about. Will you learn it together with me today? Let's do it.
Your plans for me are good. You hold my future. You're working all the time. You're the mountain mover. From sunrise to sunset, till the sun comes back up again. You're by my side. You started a good work in me. I know that you will complete it. You will see it through, yeah. I know that you're still working on me. And everything that you say you'll do, 'cause I believe that you are faithful, oh, you are faithful, oh, you are faithful. I'll trust your every word, 'cause I believe that you're working for my good. Yes, you're committed. From sunrise to sunset, till the sun comes back up again. You're by my side. You started a good work in me. I know that you will complete it. You will see it through, yeah. I know that you're still working on me. And everything that you say you'll do, 'cause I believe that you are faithful, oh, you are faithful, oh, you are faithful. You are my hope, you are my future. You are the mountain mover. You are faithful. You are my hope, you are my future. You are the mountain mover. You are faithful. You started a good work in me. I know that you will complete it. You will see it through, yeah. I know that you're still working on me. And everything that you say you'll do, 'cause I believe that you are faithful, oh, you are faithful, you are faithful, oh, you are faithful, oh, you are faithful, oh, you are faithful.
Like I said earlier, commitment is making a plan and putting it into practice. And any runner will tell you that it takes commitment to train for a race. You can't just show up at the starting line and hope to win. You got to put the work in ahead of time so that you can run your very best on race day. In fact, look at what the Apostle Paul wrote in 1 Corinthians 9:24. Let's look at that together, shall we? In 1 Corinthians 9:24, he says, in a race, all the runners run, but only one gets the prize. You know that, don't you? So run in a way that will get you the prize. That's cool. Something tells me he wasn't just talking about racing here. I mean, it's true what he says about racing, but have you ever just tried to do something you weren't prepared for? Have you ever gotten in over your head? Maybe your pride just got the best of you and you didn't feel like you could admit that you didn't really have any idea what you were doing. And you just kind of like decided to go for it. Well, I think we've all done that sometimes. And sometimes it can work, but most of the time, things are way harder than they look on the surface. And you get in and you realize you're in trouble and it doesn't end well. Sometimes those are hard lessons to learn and embarrassing ones. I've learned the hard way plenty of times. Or have you ever just found yourself wishing that things would go better, but you know deep down you haven't really put in the right amount of effort? And maybe you're just like praying those Hail Mary prayers at the end. Like maybe with your grades? Oh. Or something else you should have done and you didn't get ready for it? Well, the Bible's full of wisdom, okay? And it has plenty to say about being in that situation and about being ready for things. It talks about how to do the things we need to do with wisdom and self-control so we won't be put to shame later. And today's lesson is a great place to start. Will you join me now as we watch one of my favorite storytellers from Orange, and he's going to talk about racing, running, winning, and he's talking about the race of life. Let's watch this together.
The Bible. It's 66 books of history, stories, letters, and poetry that fit together to form God's one big story. The epic adventure of how He created us and loves us so much that He made a way to rescue us. As we travel through the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, we discover people who met God and found their lives changed forever. Now, for an amazing story inspired by the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 9, verses 24 through 25.
Did you know that some writers of the Bible talk sports? Well, not every sport, but at least one that you are familiar with. Yep, running. Running has been around ever since God created people. In fact, the Apostle Paul uses running as an example in one of his letters to the church in Corinth.
In a race, all the runners run, but only one gets the prize. You know that, don't you? So run in a way that will get you the prize.
Now, Paul is talking about more here than just running, but first you have to understand what it takes to run a long race. Let's say you want to run a marathon. That's 26.2 miles. There's no way you can just hop up off the sofa where you've been playing video games for months and run that far. So, you need a plan. When I was preparing for my first marathon, I found this plan. I started training more than 4 months ahead of the race, and I started with just a few miles at a time. Once you've got a plan, well, then you gotta move. That means short runs, long runs, and cross-training to work other muscles and prevent injury. Next up, you've got to fuel. Plenty of water, of course. Plus, you need healthy carbs for your long runs like bananas. And maybe some spaghetti and meatballs. What's the last part of your training? Get ready for it. Rest. If you don't rest and let your body recover, you'll get burnt out or injured. The last few days before a marathon, you don't even run at all. Yeah, running a long race is no joke. But Paul says what we're doing right now, you and me, is even more important.
All who take part in the games train hard. They do it to get a crown that will not last. But we do it to get a crown that will last forever. So I do not run like someone who doesn't run toward the finish line. I do not fight like a boxer who hits nothing but air.
Paul packs a lot of weight into just a few sentences. Whether you planned it or not, we are all running a race right now. Okay, so that's a little crazy. Clearly, I'm standing here talking to you, and you aren't outside running laps either. But Paul is talking about a way of life, a journey. We're all focused on the finish line, life forever with Jesus, but in the meantime, every step along the way is important as we live out what matters most. Jesus reminded his followers,
Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul. Love him with all your mind. Love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Yep, love God, love others. That's what matters on this journey together. But just like you can't skip from jogging one lap around the school gym to running a 26.2-mile race, you're gonna need some practice. Your Love God, Love Others marathon needs a training plan. Now, none of us have it all figured out, but here are 4 important things to start with. In fact, you may already be doing some of them. First point, hear. God is the master teller of this amazing story. He's the author of this whole race, so the most important thing is learning to hear from God. That means digging into God's Word and hearing the stories and wisdom from people who walked with Him. And you can also hear from God from people around you in your life who know and follow Him. Now, here's the second step in training for our Love God, Love Others marathon. Pray. Okay, when you hear pray, you might think,
In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti.
Truth is, you don't need fancy words to pray. You can talk to God anytime, anywhere, about anything, just like talking to your mom or your best friend. Now let's take a look at point 3 in our training plan. Talk. Hello out there! Tell other people what God has been up to in your life, what's changing, how you're learning to love others better. And here's the final point in your Love God, Love Others training plan. Live. Live for God. Let His love fill up every part of your life, at home, at school, at church, even when your dad makes you stop reading your book to play a game with your little sister. Hear, pray, talk, live. That's how you practice loving God and loving others. As Paul wrote, so run in a way that will get you the prize. We do it to get a crown that will last forever. And when you do, you will live out Paul's wisdom to the Corinthians and win the race.
There you have it. What Paul wrote in his letter is so true. If you want to be strong as you run in the race of life, that takes commitment. You have to, are you ready for our bottom line? Here it comes. You have to keep practicing what matters most. Unfortunately, we're good at practicing stuff that doesn't matter. But we have to be reminded to keep practicing what matters most and not get sidetracked. Remember, Jesus told us what matters most. It's simple. Love God, love others. And we can learn to live like that when we take the time to practice our training steps, our faith skills. Remember what he said in the video? Hear from God, pray to God, talk about God, and live for God. Sounds simple enough, but it does take practice. And maybe you already do some of those things. Or maybe you're just getting started doing those things. Either way, we're all training together. It helps me when I remember that God is with me. And He's going to help me with those steps. And He's going to direct me to those steps. And you know what? I can trust Him no matter what. I just have to obey. When He prompts me, I have to obey. Let's take a look at our memory verse for this month. It's from another one of Paul's letters in the New Testament. 1 Timothy 4:8. Read it with me as I turn to that right now. Are you guys ready? Okay. It says, training the body has some value. Right? We know that. But being godly has value in every way. It promises to help in the life you are in now living and the life to come. The life to come. Interesting how we can be training now for the life to come. That's right. Training your body's important. You know that. And when you run an actual race, it's good to discipline ourselves. But what matters most in life is understanding how much God loves you and then sharing His love with the people around you. And you're never too young or too old to begin that kind of training and to begin putting that into practice. So friends, let's commit to that plan and stick with it. And I'll see you here next week for more training. Let's do this.